When it comes to mentoring, who are your most important mentors in your life?
Uh, well, my father, number one, his name is Michael Forts. But also, I do poetry. So I think one of the greatest examples I've seen was my man Paul Maybon. He's a Def Poetry Jam poet, and we had a meeting maybe around mid February, and he gave me like the best advice I've ever had from a fellow artist, letting me know that I should reach for autonomy in my work. Um, and then I would say another brother would be Food for Thought. A few sisters like Jaha Zainabu and Reverdia, the River Woman. I have a few. Particularly, like I say, it would be, I would say, number one top on my list would be my man Rod Zilla, the Black Academic. He's like the biggest role model I've seen thus far. He's like the biggest example.
Okay, and when you said your father, what kind of qualities did he possess that he passed on to you?
He has a stick-to-itiveness. He's never been a quitter. Always going to the furthest end to get what he has to get. To be successful. Not to mention he has an awesome pen. My father's like one of the greatest writers I've ever read. And it's funny because now we've kind of like piggybacked each other, and now I somehow influence him, and he writes more. So it's it's like an ebb and flow. I love it.
Okay,
Getting
that's great.
closer that way.
Okay. And have you ever been a mentor? And who have you mentored?
Yes, I'm a peer advisor for EOPS, so I mentor quite a number of students. I've also worked with the Weed and Seed program in Role of Men in Long Beach, and I've mentored a few of the youth in the community. Um, I've also spoke at Butler Middle School, and so I've had a very let's say diverse group of mentees. So I couldn't pinpoint one specific, but I also mentor other poets, young poets. For instance, I started a Young Poet Society here at Long Beach City College. Um, our president, Jeremiah Rossborough, was someone who, early on, I was mentoring in a way, and built up his confidence. And since then, they've taken off and they do their own thing now, producing 2 open mics a month, mentoring kids. It's an awesome thing to see something that started out as an idea to grow. So in that regard, I think I mentor a great deal of people.
Okay. Out of the people that you mentor, do you have any personal relationships with them or do you still stay in
Always,
contact?
always.
Good.
I believe in meeting people and getting to know them on an individual level, rather than to just see them as a group and throw them all in the same bunch. Each person that I actually take under my wing, I deal with them personally. They're like family, and then from there, that's how we say each one teach one sort of thing.
Okay. Have you ever, in your mentoring, have you ever been faced with the ethical issue?
Yeah. I've had issues where I might have been mentoring two brothers. One brother was excelling over another, and sometimes there were clashes where you had to be a mediator, and you find yourself maybe a little closer to the brother that was excelling. So you had to choose, like, okay, so do I just take the side of the one that's excelling, or do I realize that he's excelling and focus some energy and attention on the one who's trying to excel? And I found that I made the right decision because the one who was trying to excel has now excelled. In fact, he got an award just the other day for the news media, the RTV. Wait, no, excuse me, Viking News. And so, like I say, once again, that was a refreshing thing to see someone who, when I first met them, they didn't know where they were going, and to see them have found themselves and found their niche. So, then I think it's something that we always have to deal with. You always have to weigh your pros and cons.
Given the situation at hand, would you have handled it differently today?
No, no. These guys are brothers, and it was about creating a sense of unity and also allowing the older brother to realize that he was an example in himself rather than them being in competition. So I think the righteous decision was to allow him to be that leader that he was and to focus some energy on his brother so that they could be leaders together. And that's where they are now. So I'm proud of them.
That's good. That's good. And when we're speaking about decision making, what do you believe the essentials are for the decision making process?
Wow. Number one, to educate yourself on the matter at hand. Okay, you can't make a decision blindly. And a lot of people do. They'll make decisions without knowing what they're up against. So, that's number one. You have to know what you're up against. You have to do your research. Number two is when making a decision, make sure that you question yourself about where your decision is coming from. Is it coming from a situation where maybe you're taking a little maliciousness and you're making the decision based on vanity, or are you making it for the greater good? And so you have to look at yourself, because sometimes we make decisions on bias. And when we make those decisions on bias, sometimes they affect other people. And we want to make sure that we don't, we want to stick to the idea of do no harm. So if we come to a thing and find it in its natural state, we want to at least leave it in the natural state that it was at when we were there if we cannot make it any better, rather than make things worse. So we always want to check ourselves.
And you spoke on bias. How do you stay unbiased with certain situations?
You always have to use empathy, apply empathy. You always have to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you only see things from your perspective, then your insight, your foresight, your oversight is going to be narrow. It's going to be like being a horse with blinders. And I don't want to be a horse with blinders, so I'll try to, just fit those cute shoes you wearing even. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to walk your walk and see where you're coming from, rather than to make you see where I'm coming from.
Okay. And what role do you have at Long Beach City College? What leadership role should I say?
I think my job is to be an outstanding student and to be an example by my own actions. Especially being an African American male, so many are either dropping out and so many choose not to go to school. I think every day that I'm here, I have to be striving to be the best that I can be and also encourage others. So I think my job here is to encourage people, connect people, and like I like to tell my students, I like to lace your bootstraps so you can walk right.
Okay. And how would you describe your leadership styles?
It's a good question. I'm 10 toes to the ground with it. In other words, I'm concrete. I don't float. I don't believe in assumption. I believe in concrete. That which is constant. You know what I mean? Because with all these different variables, we tend to make wrong decisions. So if we keep with that which is constant and realize that things change over time, like I say, time will tell. Time will tell, and it gets better with time. That's for sure.
Okay. You mentioned earlier in the interview that you work with EOPS.
Yes,
What does EOPS stand for?
It's Extended Opportunities, Programs, and Services. We're a retention program designed to help students reach their goals. So if you come in and you tell us you want to be a rocket scientist, we're going to try to find the classes for you that's going to get you that rocket scientist degree, if that's what you want to be.
Okay.
So we have a counselor that draws out a blueprint, and we help follow you on that journey and show you the different resources that'll help you make it.
Do you find your job stressful at times?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes you're dealing with other people's issues, and sometimes it overlaps your issues. I'm a student as well, so sometimes I'm having trouble with my classes. Like math is not, the greatest asset in my book, and sometimes I'm dealing with a math class while a student tells me that they're having issues with their math class.
Okay. How do you manage your stress at school and as an EOPS worker?
I put it on paper. I'm a poet. You know what I mean? I'll write a poem, or I'll express it. I believe that the best and greatest outlet that one can have is freedom of expression, rather than to bottle it all up until it becomes a powder keg and explode. Put it on paper and tell somebody, talk about it. Consider it an internal escape mechanism, because rather than trapping yourself in the box, you can always bust out through expression. And that's what I do, and I try to show others.